All right. Well, look, guys, thank you for coming. Welcome to my first ever webinar. It's the first in a bunch. It's a new series for Absolute Digital, and it's called What the Fuck Work From Home. So this is the first one, and it's a webinar series where we're going to be asking different people to come on, inviting different people to come on and have a chat with myself and other people in Absolute Digital as well. And it's going to be a platform for different people in Absolute to chat about their experiences, their skills, their training, and their knowledge within the industry as well. We're mostly going to be covering SEO, PPC, digital PR, but in general, all things digital marketing and the journey of Absolute as well. Today we've brought on our first guest, special guest, Kirsty Hulse from Raw Training. How are you?
I'm really good, Ben. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Good, thank you. A little bit nervous, but no, it's cool. First webinar on that. It's good.
Yeah, well done for. I know. Yeah, I'm on the tee. You're a few steps ahead of me. I just want to, for the people that have joined, hi everyone. I just want to acknowledge. You won't mind me sharing about like how incredibly nervous you are right now, Ben.
No, I don't care. Go for it. Go for it. It's true.
Yeah, like I cannot stress how nervous Ben is. So thank you for being here, and be sure to send him lots of support in the chat, because doing this stuff can be hard, right? You know, if it's not your normal arena and you don't normally feel comfortable by like putting yourself out there and talking live. But I'm excited to be the first guest for the webinar. So shall we just dive in?
Let's go for it. So
amazing.
I think, go on.
No, you go. You go.
I was going to say the first webinar episode really is more about marketing your business during a pandemic. So just wanted to talk about that. I'd like to share our experience, but Kirsty, if you want to talk about your sort of experience as well, how you've coped, how you're marketing, and you know where you've been in the past from the start of the pandemic till now, really, and cover that off. I think that'd be interesting for everyone to hear.
Yeah, I think so. And it's so funny because obviously I used to run a marketing agency and I never think of myself as working in marketing anymore. But then I forget that I have a business and I am like continually marketing. Also, I just want to say at this point, if anyone has any thoughts, comments, suggestions, just put them in the chat. We can see the chat, so then we can just make this like interactive. So if anyone has any questions or anything at any point. Okay, so for me, I mean, like so many of us, at the turn of the COVID, like my business like collapsed, like bottomed out very literally. So when I first started Raw Training, I would say it was all face-to-face by design. I didn't do any virtual sessions. Sometimes people would ask me for them and I would be like, no, you know, this stuff is just energy exchange. There's no way I can train confidence or presentation skills virtually. I need to be in the same room as people. So I would like, before COVID, I was like turning potential clients away. I was so convinced that you couldn't do it virtually. And so then I lost all of my work like overnight within 2 days or something. And then a couple of months later, I was like, you know what, I think virtual is great. I think virtual is, so I had to do a total 360. And I was like emailing people being like, you know, we can probably, because I thought it would be like anybody else, right? I thought it would be a couple of months. But since then, I'm in the fortunate ones of us, and my business really has started to thrive again. And so in terms of marketing a business in this time, I think the most important thing for me is just being incredibly authentic. Yeah. Just really, and I think that's why actually I really love and respect that you're like, I'm so nervous, especially because people wouldn't expect it from you if they saw you, right? You look like this archetypal confident man. Like people wouldn't expect to see like someone like you who runs this business to get so nervous doing this kind of stuff. So I think what's really important when we market businesses is we market ourselves, okay, not even market, but we just share our human stories. And my business really flourished over this time. And I think it's because I consistently was just sharing my human story. And whatever industry you work in, you know, whether that's plumbing or coaching or marketing, there's always a human story behind everything. And I think when we connect to that and deeply connect to that and connect to our authenticity, and maybe we can talk about authenticity later, I think that's what people need, want, and respect during a pandemic, to know that there is emotion and human and goodness behind the things that we're trying to do for the most part. I don't know if that resonates with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you touched on, hugely nervous for this webinar. My first ever one. I've never done anything like this before, never put myself out there. And it's only since sort of November, really, that I've started actually using social media. I've been in the industry 15 years, but I've had the agency for nearly 12 and a half years now. And, I've always stuck at the back and never really wanted to get my name out there. Never wanted to do a podcast, a webinar, stand on stage or anything like that. Just more focus on the business and be hands-on. But I think, this lockdown's really resonated with me in that way that, do you know what? It's not just about running the agency and, being involved. Maybe I should take more of a step back in terms of the day-to-day running and being amongst the weeds. Take a step back from that, give more time to myself to prepare and sort of get out there a little bit, network on social media, and join in on webinars and podcasts as well.
And that's really interesting, actually, because I'm sure there is people listening to this conversation, sitting on this webinar, who are in the same situation, the same boat that you are in and that you felt you were in. You prefer being behind the scenes. That's, normal. We're all different. What is it that shifted for you where you're like, actually, I'm going to learn and try and start putting myself out there a bit more? What was the change?
I think I made a conscious decision to change not just that, but a lot of things through the pandemic. Obviously, everyone was forced in every type of business to make changes. I think more than anything, there's my wife pushing me to get out there. I've always wanted to be backstage, just running the business, and not get out there. And she's like, "Come on, get out there. People need to hear it. People need to hear the story." There's a bit of a story about how Absolute set up, and there's a story about how everyone got into SEO. No one decided to get into it. We all fell into it in a certain way. And, she's like, people need to hear that. People need to hear about what Absolute are doing, not just the staff in the business, and share our experiences, not just the good things, but the things that have been tough as well. And we've had a tough year, really tough. It started off really tough, but we're coming through it and things are looking really good for us at the moment. So I think it's just being open and sharing our experiences to everyone, and learning off other people as well, where I haven't been out there, I haven't been sort of sharing experiences, but I haven't been gaining other people's experiences as well. And I think now is the right time for me to not only share, but learn from other people as well, for moving to the next step.
I love that. And I actually think that's such a nice thing when it comes to like being in the industry, putting yourself out there as a marketer. When you start networking, sharing knowledge, then actually more so what you're doing is you're opening yourself up to learn from others.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what about some of the clients or the brands that you've worked with? How are they finding marketing strategies that are working for them at the moment?
Well, I mean, look, there's been a lot of changes since lockdown. So, for example, I'll give you an example of one client. When we locked down, they're a professional catering company. And when I say catering, they'll go to your house and they'll prepare dinner for a dinner party, or they'll do corporate events, or they'll do wedding catering. And at the start of lockdown, it completely killed their business. They completely stopped. They had no business coming in, no inquiries, because we couldn't socialise. So they said to us, "What now?" So what we've decided, and what we gathered as a group, and we sort of planned it, and we said we need to think of something that can keep their business going. And what we came up with was, rather than going out and preparing meals for people at their house for their dinner parties, people can't do that, they can't arrive there. We completely worked with them to change their business model, to turn it from a turning up at an event sort of catering business to more online. And what that means is, what we've done was set up webinars for them, all virtual cooking sessions, if you like. And if you bought one of their packages, they would send you a box with all the pre-prepped food in it, a menu. They would send it out to your house in time, ready for the live webinar, and the chef would be, cooking the meal along with you. So you could watch what they were doing, cook along with them the same meal with the same ingredients, step by step. And that's worked really well for them. And it's, they're still doing it today. It's got them through the pandemic. They've increased their marketing spend because it's working for them. And I don't think they're going to stop that when we come out of the pandemic. They're going to, continue that. I've no doubt they'll get back to actually doing dinner parties and corporate events, because that's the lifeblood of their business. But this is doing really well for them. So it's just about adapting.
Yeah, no, sorry, you carry on. I interrupted you.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I was just going to say, it's about adapting not only marketing strategy, it's about adapting the way your business works as well. And that's why I'm working with them.
Yeah, and it's amazing how, there was so much agility. There was so much agility. And I think from my experience as a business owner and someone who works in a lot of businesses, I tweeted yesterday something about I speak to probably about 400 or 500 people a week, just on the webinars I do. So I get a sense of how people are feeling, from quite a a sizable-ish scale, whatever. And I think certainly at the beginning, the earliest phases of this, there was that sense of urgency. There was that sense of, I've got to pivot. We were almost kind of in the trenches as business owners, and people actually working from home, figuring out how to work from home. And there was all of this new learning to do.
Yeah.
And now we've kind of done that. I feel as though something that's happening at the moment, and in my experience, is now we're slipping almost into this monotony, mundanity. And I don't know if, people who are listening to this feel the same. Actually, we have a chat function, just put yes or something in the chat if this is you too. So, we can know. But things just feel a bit relentless and a bit monotonous. And that pace, because when you're trying to save your business, right? When you're trying to save your business, when you're trying to pivot or you're trying to reposition your business, that's intense. That's energizing in a way almost. And now I think we've got into the day-to-day of it. So how are you trying to overcome that for yourself, but also for your teams?
Yeah, to be honest, and I'll be completely open about it, there's the start of lockdown in March. From March till April, we lost 44% of our monthly retainer. Completely gone. We had all the costs, the overheads, the office, software, staffing, everything. We lost 44% within a month. And we're just wow, okay, so we need to take a deep breath. We need to work out what are we going to do, not only for us, for our clients as well. How are we going to help them to keep them on board with us as well? So it really led us down to working on a number of things. So first of all was working out what all our clients are doing with us, but not just us. What are they doing elsewhere, or what aren't they doing elsewhere? So we had a number of clients that had databases that were 5 years old, 10 years old. They had 1,000 contacts in there, 10,000, over 100,000 contacts. They hadn't touched them. So we were offering different services to them. They may have been on for SEO, they may have been on for PPC, but they'd never done email marketing. We're like, well, let's try email marketing. Let's get in the face of the people that you've had contact with before, or they've shown an interest in your service or your product. And I'll be honest, again, on certain occasions, we were doing it for free for clients, on top of the service that they were on for with us, just to keep our business going and to keep their business going and give them the best opportunity to succeed. So we were doing that for clients. We were taking new approaches as well, so going through our databases, you know, contacting old clients, contacting people that we'd spoke to in the past that hadn't come on board. You know, so there's a lot of things that we're working on with people to try and help them through that. But at the same time, we had to sort ourselves out as well, and take our advice on ourselves.
What's the thing that you're finding most difficult at the moment?
At the moment,
This webinar, Kirsty, you have made me do a webinar.
I'd definitely say sitting outside of my biggest comfort zone in the world and sitting on a webinar and talking live as well. You know, not right now, but at the start of lockdown, it was letting go. When lockdown came around, I was like, my God, I never thought I'd have anyone work for the business outside of the office that we're in. You know, people were like, let's open up a second office, and we thought about that. I couldn't let go, I couldn't do it. I wanted to be there. I'm very hands-on. I'd be in all the meetings, all the strategies, getting involved with every client's campaign. And to even think about a second office, let alone shutting the office and working from home because we had to, that was hard for me to let go. But over time, you know, very quickly, actually, quicker than I thought, it became easier and easier to let go of that, because it allowed me more time to do more things for the business rather than being within the weeds of client campaigns, speaking to clients, just checking they're okay, they're getting, you know, what they expect from campaigns, the results and the service wise. So I do think the hardest part for me was letting go, but I really sort of got to grips with that, and that's worked. It's really freed my time up for other things in the business now.
Have you found clients have been harder to manage?
No, I found it being easier, actually.
Really? That surprises me.
Certain clients, yeah, I definitely feel you. Yeah, certain clients have been easier to manage. I think, you know, it's the expectation of what they're getting, but also I think our service, what we've provided, has really stepped up a notch. To clients, like I was saying earlier, we've offered extra services, cross services to them on a lot of occasions, you know, free of charge, to help them. And I think they see that loyalty from our side and that commitment from us as an agency, not just to keep them on as a client, but over time. And a lot of clients that we've had for years, and you sort of grow with them clients. So you don't want to see them fail. You don't want to see their campaigns not work. So you will put, well, we have been putting the extra into it to make sure they're getting what they need to get through. But that was mainly at the start. A lot of clients are doing really, really good now. And as I said earlier, we dropped by over 40% in our book from March till April. We're now at a point where from March, we dropped 44%, but now from March, we're at 52% of an increase within the business. And that's, I suppose, a lot of clients that did pause at the early pandemic, obviously coming out to the summer and late summer. A lot of businesses that we noticed were actually starting to spend again, stop being so restrictive on their marketing and wanted to put more into it. Obviously, a lot more people are going online. There's a big shift in people's behaviours online as well, certainly with shopping.
Yeah. So you said a quote to me earlier, you know, the pandemic is temporary, but your business is forever. This might be quite a personal question, but whatever. When you're sitting there as a business owner, a business that you've been building for 12 years, that you never expected to build, right? And this is so, I never wanted to have many minds. It just happened one day. It just happened one day. And then I realized, I was like, oh, I don't know if this is for me. But so you're sitting there, right? You've got a team, you've got a family, and then this business that you've built, like, on still doing all the sales, involved in the thing with your team around you, and half of it pretty much goes overnight. How does that feel?
Yeah, it wasn't good.
Great, that's great. Good.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. We, myself and my wife, even a couple of the staff members as well, we were sitting there crying together. We were worried. We were like, what do we do? We're panicking. How do we sort this? How long is it going to last? And at that time, I think we only thought it was going to last 2 or 3 months, let alone near enough a year. And we were like, okay, what do we do? The emotions are all going through you. All this time I've spent 12 years setting it up, and I'm about to potentially, you see nearly 50% of it disappear. I suppose you just got to pull yourself together, be resilient, and think, what makes this business? And there's 2 things that make the business, and that's the clients and the staff. And that's where you need to invest your time and your money, really. And that's what I think we've done, certainly over the last year, really put a lot more into our clients' campaigns to make sure that they succeed. It's not, and our slogans really come out of this over the last year as well. We say we're not just your agency, we're your partner. We're like the extension of your business, the marketing department. And I think to our clients, we've really proved that over the last year by putting a lot more into them. And again, with the staff, we've put a lot of extra time and expense into making our staff, because now we have gone remote fully, which we'll get into in a bit. We've put a lot more into them in terms of their well-being, their confidence, their skill set, their knowledge over the last year as well.
Yeah. So if someone came, so I'm interviewing you, is that okay?
Yeah, no, go for it.
I mean, we know each other, so it's fine. Okay, so
we've been doing this since October anyway.
Yeah, I want to ask you 2 questions. So the first question I want to ask you, I'll say them now so I don't forget them. The first question I want to ask you is, you mentioned the word resilient. So as a business owner, how do you stay resilient and motivate yourself every day, especially someone who likes going in the office, and I think you can sometimes be quite a social extrovert, right? So, and I think you do have that like friendship with your clients, like you've got a sales background, that's what you do. So how do you motivate yourself every day? That's the first question I want to ask you. And then the second question I want to ask you is, if a business owner came to you now and said, what are some things I can do to market my business at the moment, what would you say? So I've put you on the spot, but what's the first thing? How do you motivate yourself?
Of course. I think more than anything, it's making sure, again, we've gone back to, had the business for over 12 years. I've got some customers that have been on with us for, almost from day one. We've still got customers on. So it's, like I say, I've built up relationships with clients myself, the staff have. The motivation really comes out of, one, making sure I want them to succeed. I don't want a client to leave because we failed them. That's a big thing for me. But then also the staff are at the heart of the business as well. Making sure that we look after them, making sure that they're happy, and there's continuous growth for them moving forwards. So I think just having the responsibility, and it does feel like sort of responsibility for the business itself, for the brand, for the clients that entrust us with their budgets and their time and their marketing, but also for the staff that trust us every day to get up every day and carry out what they do for our clients. So I'd say they're probably the biggest things for me, but also self-pride as well, knowing that I've done this, and I don't want it to go backwards. I want to move forwards. I really want us to be the best full-service marketing agency in the UK, and I really do want that. And I think over the period of COVID, that's really resonated with me a lot, and that's why I'm sitting on here in the most uncomfortable hour of my life, because I want that moving forward for the agency, and this is one of the things I've got to do for that.
Yeah.
Your second point, what was that? Sorry.
Okay, so someone comes to you, you're in the pub, right? Hypothetical situation. This will never happen. Actually, I just want to tell one little story that I think some people will enjoy when you talked about churn. Good. So 2 things, like there's loads of reasons why many of mine started to slowly die. One of them was I didn't care enough about churn. You know, that thing you talk about, like, I don't want people to leave us because we failed. My perception was clients move on. That was all what my, you know, that was my, oh, clients move on. And I never had that like hunger to really, and you need that, you definitely need that. And I didn't have that. The second thing, right, so my dad, this may seem completely unrelated, but it's a fun story. So my dad is an accountant. His dad was an accountant, and they run an accountancy firm called HGC Hulse & Co. In the arse end of Stoke. Like, they've got this little office above a coral betting shop, and this car always gets keyed, right? So my mum rang me the day, and she was really upset. She was like, "Cause we've lost a client. We've lost a client." And I was like, "Doesn't matter. Clients leave. Like, part of the job, part of it." And she's like, "Cause we've had this client since 1958." It was like my granddad's client is a barbershop, and like the son, and it was like this family business, and they'd lost this client they'd had since 1958. And I was like, wow, okay, so that is definitely not the level of churn you get in SEO. It's crazy. Okay, so the other question I wanted to ask you is, so you're in the pub, hypothetical situation. You're in the pub and someone comes up to you and goes, "Look, I've got this business, and you know, before we used to, our marketing strategies just aren't working anymore. What are you seeing in your client that's working that maybe we can try?"
Yeah, completely depends on the business, 100%. But it's really, it's looking to ask them, what does good look like to you? You know, and I always say that, that's the first thing I say. Somebody is interested in digital marketing, what does good look like? Because that will really form the foundation of the approach we take. Is it, you know, is it SEO? Is it PPC? Is it digital PR? Is it a mix of everything? Is it email marketing, social media, paid social, you know, or a couple of different services integrated? So it really is understanding their business and what they want to get from it. So if it's e-commerce, where the profitability is, if it's a service, how much are they making in terms of, or do they need to make per lead? So it really comes down to what service or what product or what type of business they're doing. And that's one of the things we do at Absolute, is when people do inquire with us about our services, we try and find out as much about the business as we can, so that we can give the best advice on what route to go down.
Yeah, exactly. I think it just has to be even more bespoke. Okay, so what we should talk about now is, I think, something that maybe I can also help with some really practical stuff on. So one of your points was like how to adapt in the face of adversity. Yeah. So what's been, Ben, what's your experience of this? How can people adapt in the face of adversity?
Well, I suppose the best way to do it is to talk about Absolute Digital. What we done when lockdown happened. So we've completely adapted. You know, we've gone from an office-based business to a remote business, and we've had to put a lot of things in place for that. So, for example, you know, I've had to send everybody laptops or desktops to their homes. We've had to make sure internal communication has been there. So Microsoft Teams, what a saviour. I mean, everybody uses it within the business, and it's fantastic. Make sure our project management system is fully in place. So, you know, we use a system called Right. So we just make sure that every single project and every single step of the way is in there. So we know what's going on, we know what each other are doing, but also the client's fully informed as well. In terms of other things, I think looking at what else we can do for our clients, looking at what else we can do in terms of cross services. And I think you've really got to take a step back and go, okay, well, things aren't great, we need to adapt. How do we move forwards? And, you know, the working from home, the office lockdown was a big step for us. But but it's also making sure, again, I'll go back to the staff thing, making sure our staff are okay as well. So we brought yourself in, Kirsty, so we started working with you from October, bring you in for confidence training for the staff, motivation to make sure everyone's still motivated, working from home. So they're the things that we didn't think we had to ever think about. And to us, that was a bit of adversity. So it's just making sure that we adapt in that.
I mean, you rue the day you ever said, Kirsty, can you help me? Because now you are here. Do you know what I'm going to share, actually? I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm going to share one thing that I think will really help the people listening either live or on the recording, because one thing I'm really observing at the moment, not on everyone and to greater or lesser extents, one of the things that I'm really observing is we're much more easily getting stuck in a rut than we were before, just in terms of our thinking, really, just in terms of our like mindset and our perception. And I'm not like removed from this. Like a couple of weeks ago, oh, I felt shit. I was like, and I've got all these techniques, like this is what I do, like who motivates the motivator? And I was just like, I don't feel good, I feel, you know, all of this stuff. And I'll just share a technique I think can really help. And it's called the TFAR framework. Oh, sorry, Ben, did you say something?
No, that's it, go for it.
Oh yeah, cool. Okay, so it's called the TFAR framework. And coaches use it a lot, but it's so powerful. Like every single day, I think, especially as now that like day-to-day joy is a little bit more limited and professional motivation is a little bit harder. And so that is basically research. This is really well documented, but our thoughts impact our feelings impact our actions, and our actions impact our results. And so, for example, most of us, and I know I do, like most of us start the day, like we'll get up in the morning, we start the day, and the kind of thoughts running through our head, like, oh, it's a busy day today. It's a really busy day today. I've got to do that thing. I've got to speak to that client. And so, like, when we start the day thinking these things, it makes us feel worried. Not always, but when we start the day thinking, oh, it's really busy, and our body responds, right? Like our body responds being like, oh, it is a busy day. Okay, so I'll increase that heart rate. I'll lower your stress levels, or I'll reduce your desire to do it, because what if you get it wrong? The stakes are so high. And so one of the things that I try and teach people is this tweak, a tiny tiny tweak that I think everybody can do at the moment. It's really easy. And that's when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you do, whether that's getting in the shower, making a coffee, going to the kids, those thoughts that are running through your head, just try, if only for a moment, to have those thoughts be like, today's going to be a good day. We don't even have to believe it. We don't have to believe it. We don't have to feel it at this stage. But if we shift that thinking, just like we're talking tiny bits, it doesn't matter if you can't do it. But like research has shown this can be really powerful. So for anyone watching this who's like, yeah, I am feeling like there is a bit of adversity, and I think it is just feeling a bit flat and a bit like, ooh, I think we've adapted. I think the industry has adapted so well. But I think now we're just in a bit of monotony. I don't know if that resonates with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
yeah.
One of the other things that we've really changed in the business is I keep going about working from home and, you know, doing all this extra stuff for our staff to make sure their well-being and training and everything's there. But and something that would we have set this up in a pandemic? But we set up a brand new department, a service offering for our clients, which is our digital PR service. And we set this up in October. We brought our first person on in October offering digital PR, not just to get more links. Obviously, it's for links to help their campaigns, but on top of that, brand awareness as well. We wanted to get our clients' names out there, another way of getting exposure for them. But there's another service offering for us as well. It was, you know, revitalizing the agency again. We'd gone through the pandemic, we'd settled in, we'd gone work from home, all of that had happened. What's the next step? How do we move forward to the next step? And that was setting up the digital PR team, which I've got to say, I am so proud of it so far. It's been brilliant. As I say, we brought the first person in October. I think it was six people now within that department. We've got a number of existing clients that have taken the service up, but also a number of new clients as well. So, you know, when we're talking about how to face adversity and how to adapt, I think just bring it back to that. That's how we've adapted a new service for our clients as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think often it's just like I talk a lot in my webinars and stuff about push and pull goals. And so push goals is when you're trying to move away from something. So push goals are like, I've got to move away from this threat. I've got to move away from this danger. So it's kind of that like, I've got to move away from the immediacy of maybe, you know, there being issues in my business, or I've got to move away from the client results being bad, or I've got to move away from this client being mad, or I've got to move away from feeling stressed or nervous or whatever it is. So that's how we motivate, like with these push goals, when we're trying to move away from something. But then we also have pull goals, right? And pull goals are more exciting, more motivating. And I like to think of them as like a magnet, right? This magnet that draws us forwards. And naturally, we think our brains, we have this negativity bias. We're built to focus on the negative. So we think in push goals, but we also, as humans, we really need pull goals. We need these goals that will allow us to focus on exciting things, expansive things, like where we want to go. And so I just invite everyone to have at least a loose idea of a pull goal. And I think a lot of people are worried about this stuff because we think, well, how can I possibly plan in adversity? How can I possibly plan? But this isn't about planning. We still have to have hope. And it's, you know, like you were like, oh, so, okay, I'm just going to do something completely new in this difficult time.
Yeah, a bit crazy, but you know, it worked, and that's the thing. It was going through a tough time. We saw not only ourselves, everyone saw us sort of coming out of it, and we had been. And now is the time to jump on it, to jump on your marketing, to push even further while other people aren't. And I think we need to push now. And opening that digital PR department was a great thing for us, and probably the best thing, and was a great contribution to us coming back to not only where we were before the pandemic, but growing as well.
Yeah. Is there anything you would like to ask me?
Let's have a little think. So
we're good on that.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say we're not like we don't have loads of time we need to fill.
No, we don't. I mean, what's your next steps in terms of I've said about I've said about what we've been doing. We've opened a new PR department. You know, we're pushing, growing the business. What sort of next steps for Kirsty? Where do you see sort of things moving forward?
Oh my God, yes. Okay, so for me, I have big pull goals because they work. And I'm a coach, right? You have to practice what you preach. So anyone watching this, if you want to learn more about how to set a pull goal, send me a message and they can be fucking transformative. So I have big goals. And the thing is, for me, goals are not about getting there. Goals for me, at least, are more about who you have to become and the things you have to learn on the way. So, you know, you have this, so I sense, we've not worked on this specifically, but I sense that your pull goal is like, you know, being one of the best full service digital marketing agencies out there, like whatever that looks like for you. And so whether you hit that or not, isn't that important? What is important is it will mean you will have to develop yourself. You will have to jump on webinars you never would have done before. You have to expand the team. You have to devote more to the team. You have to invest more. So it's all of these things that we have to do. These are the important things. You being here now, this is the win. The win isn't necessarily the outcome. The win is you doing something that you never thought you would be able to do. And I think the only reason yeah, exactly. The only reason, I believe this so passionately, the only reason we are on this planet, on this earth, is to consistently surprise ourselves. That's why we're here, to make ourselves proud. Doesn't matter what other people think. As long as we are making ourselves proud, that's all that matters. So I have these pull goals, and if I don't hit them, great, but I make them really big because then I can try and make myself proud. And it's so funny because I set up raw training. So the problem with Many Minds, so I had Many Minds, the big problem with that is it was based on me and me alone. So everyone was remote, the bulk of the team were freelance, and so it just made it, sales was really difficult. It was so contingent on me. And then it became the fucking Kirsty Hulse show. Like, people would buy, and the other big challenge that many minds had was people would buy what I would talk about, but that wasn't necessarily our main specialism. Like, we were incredible at tech, like tech SEO, because it's easy to deliver, it's easy to define. And we were, this was 2016, we were working remotely, and it just wasn't, people thought it was super weird, honestly. And a lot of our clients were like, does this mean you're a serious business? Like, the amount of times people said to me, like, does this mean you can deliver? What was I saying? Yes. And so it became based on me. And so I set up Raw Training, and I was like, I'm not going to make that mistake again. I'm not going to build a business that's based on me as a brand. And then at the start of this year, I was like, fine, it can be, because I don't know what it, like, I have a team around me, but I think because of what I do, I have invariably become the face of my business. So my kind of, and I always resisted that. I mean, it might not look like it, right? But I did always resist being the face of my business. And I was like, right, I'm going to have a team, because I want to be able to not have to work. I want to be able to go away. I want to be able to, like, not constantly have to be sharing on social media all the time. And I'm sure people know, like, when you work for yourself, at least for me, social media is how I make money, which is cool. I'm grateful for it, but it also means you have this reputation you constantly have to watch, and it can be a lot. It can. It's worth it and it's worthwhile, but psychologically it can be a bit draining. So I really didn't want to do it, right? Can't it?
That's part of the reason why I've stayed away. Stayed away. And I've just, again, I've had the agency for 12 years, but I just haven't got involved, so I'm not used to it. I'm not used to going out there and, having that name, if you like. I've just been used to getting involved in the business and working with the business, working with the staff, which, and to be fair, talking about staff, last year have adapted fantastically as well, in the face of everything. They've all come through, from shit, from crap, from March till April, it was crap. It was hard work. But everyone dug their heels in and pulled through. So while we're on that, I just want to say how proud I am of them and the rest of the team. And then moving forwards as well. But I have stuck away from social and being out there, because it is uncomfortable, but I suppose now's the time.
Yeah, it's kind of people ask me a lot about this, like, how can I be on social and not be like, get my soul crushed by it? It's hard. It's hard because it is like you're putting yourself out there, you're exposing yourself to ridicule, you're exposing yourself to people saying mean things about you, you're exposing yourself to being trolled, like, especially in this industry. Especially in the SEO industry, it is because it's very, and the great thing about SEO is it's collaborative and it's open and people talk and people share, but at the same time, with that openness, with that collaborability, not a word, we're going with it, can also come that bit of judgment. And so to answer your question, when I first started Raw, I was like, I don't want this anymore. I don't want to be the face of a brand. I don't want my identity and my personality to be tied into how much money I make. Like, But my goal, I'm writing, so basically to answer your question, my big goal is I'm writing a book, and I've been writing it for ages and talking about persistence. So I wrote a book before, but I wanted this book to be like big. I wanted to get a big publisher. I wanted it to be read by loads of people. I was like, I'm going to just try. Like, the worst thing that can happen, and the way you get a big publisher is you need a literary agent. So at the tail end of last year, I dusted off the old outreach skills. I emailed easily 1,000. Every single literary agent, I emailed them all of them. Nobody got back to me. Like, nobody got back to me. And a few people did get back to me, and they were like, nah, no, thank you. This isn't great. And this story comes circle. And then I was like, do I know anyone? Like, because when you know someone, it always helps. I was like, do I know anyone who knows anyone? And then I knew someone who knew an agent, and she put me in touch. And then that's the agent that's representing me, the last person I thought that I kind of knew. And so it comes full circle in the sense of being vulnerable and being open on the internet is hard, like hard and scary, and it is. But it also can really open yourself up to come back to maybe one of the first things you said, to learning. It allows you to learn, and it allows you to make connections. And the big thing that I've learned, which maybe can be the takeaway of the webinar, is absolutely nobody succeeds alone.
No.
That was my big mistake with Many Minds. I thought I could do it on my own, and I couldn't.
No, 100%. And you know, that's why I was saying just now, how grateful to the team as well. No way would I have got through without, and my wife as well, massive part of helping run, you know, the business. Yeah, I think really the other thing I want to say is about we've got everything covered in over 200 pages of an ebook called the Thrive Guide that we've put together. So we spent probably about 4 months putting this together, and it talks about all types of digital marketing. So again, SEO, PPC, email, digital PR, how we've adapted as an agency, how we've helped our clients adapt their business model and also their marketing. And we've put it all into this this ebook with some case studies as well, to show you the results of why we had to do something, what we've done, and the end result of it. So it's going out next week, but everybody on the webinar will be sending it to you tomorrow by email. So if you opted for your email to get any advertising or anything from us, then we'll be sending that to you tomorrow. So have a look through that. If there are any questions about anything that we've spoke about today, or if you want to me to elaborate on anything, or yeah, any other questions, then feel free to jump on Twitter or LinkedIn and send me some questions. I'll be more than happy to answer. And if you want to chat as well, again, I'm up for learning. I'm up for sharing my knowledge. So, you know, feel free to hit me up on social channels and we'll go from there.
Amazing, thank you.
No, go on. I was just going to say thank you for your time as well, Kirsty. I really appreciate you coming on today.
Ben, you're paying me. You are literally paying me to be here.
It's been great working with you since October as well. I mean, again, it's about learning from different people that have been in, you know, different situations. I mean, the remote working, that's where you came from, and you know, it's taught us so much as well. So no, fantastic, it's been brilliant.
You're so welcome, you're so welcome. And actually, so I just want to say, so thank you for the people that have been on this webinar, that have listened to this webinar. Maybe there's some stuff in there that you can go away and think about. And I just want, for me, the big goal for this webinar for me was to use Ben as a living, breathing example that we're not what you think we might be. I think if you knew Ben or you saw Ben, you would just assume he is confident, but he was super nervous, so nervous before this, and you did really well. So thank you. Everybody fucking deserves a voice. So thank you for showing that we can overcome, with great discomfort, we can overcome our fears.
Yeah, a little bit of discomfort, but we got there.
We got there.
Thank you, Kirsty, and thanks for everyone else for your time as well. And we'll be back next month with another episode of What the Fuck, We're From Home. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. Bye.